Section 230 was made in the early 1990s and allows social media companies and platforms alike to be liable free from the content they host. It also allows social media platforms to deem what is also acceptable on their website. So the consequences of this arrangement protect social media platforms that host abusive behavior that in any other context would not be protected, and it threatens the American people's thoughts by gatekeeping what they deem as acceptable. At the end of the day, Section 230 needs to be further fleshed out and relooked at. For example, some an example of lackluster moderation would be the use of Facebook to organize a minor genocide of the Rwandan people of Myanmar. You can clearly see what's lackluster about that. It was organized, it was predisposed, pre-planned, and Facebook either didn't know about it or did nothing about it. With that in mind, I think it would be in everyone's best interest to relook at Section 230 and either repeal it or modify it to be up to today's standards.
The way the law is applied today protects abusive speech and illegal behavior online. Websites devoted to rumors and gossip, often called shaming websites, offer nothing for victims of libel and harassment, and yet these sites' practices are protected by the current interpretation of Section 230. Cyberbullying also has no recourse as information about the author, in order to sue them, is limited by how much the author discloses. If someone were to harass another person to the point where they commit suicide, there may be no justice for the victim's family, and the harasser may be allowed to continue using the platform just like normal without any restrictions, despite now being responsible for someone's life. Section 230 clearly states that protections only apply to platforms that make a good faith effort to moderate content on them, including content that harasses or is obscene, but the current interpretation ignores this requirement completely.
So the third and final argument for why Section 230 should be repealed is that it threatens American values by gatekeeping thought. If social media sites object to some political post by a user, they can remove it merely on the grounds that it's objectionable, and what's considered objectionable is really completely left up to the company. And the companies take advantage of the privileges given by Section 230 by using it to filter opposing perspectives. And they basically engage in viewpoint discrimination at an unprecedented scale and scope. And they determine what news, information, and perspectives Americans are allowed to read, hear, and access. And this is a threat to our democratic self government. And the reason why is that social media companies can hide any perspective that they disagree with. And they're essentially, like I said earlier, gatekeeping independent thought in America. And this is wrong and has detrimental consequences. When a social media site can hide certain views from Americans while promoting their own views, they're in a sense doing people's thinking. Americans are no longer given a fair look at differing opinions and given the opportunity to decide for themselves which view is most reasonable. Instead, social media sites have the potential to direct mass American thinking however they like without restraint under the protection of Section 230.